This year's annual town meeting gets underway this week. Some town leaders say that Arlington needs to change, but there are many town meeting members saying, not so fast. We'll have reaction. Stop and Shop workers are back on the job. A tentative settlement is reached. Now it's just a matter of restocking their store shelves. Gibbs Middle School is offering a new type of lesson to its 6th graders, and it seems to be leaving dear old Golden Rule days in the rearview mirror. We'll have a full report. Last week we showed you the honorable mention winners for a documentary in a C-SPAN competition. Tonight, the other recipients of that award. Talented young students who focus on our most important form of government. Not in D.C., but right here in Arlington. This is ACMi News.
Hello, I'm Carla Dorado.
And I'm Brenda Mahoney. The 2019 annual town meeting gets underway this week, and already some major surprises. The Arlington Redevelopment Board this week abruptly changed its vote, recommending no action on 6 of the board's proposed zoning density articles. Several ARB articles were aimed at giving Arlington a boost in housing units and affordable housing, while fueling the town's economy and increasing its commercial base. But many town meeting members said they were uncomfortable with these changes, saying they were concerned the process was being rushed and more community feedback was needed. These concerns were raised Monday night when the majority of speakers said they did not want to see Arlington urbanized like Cambridge or Somerville, and they simply needed more time.
Granted that a lot of people, I don't think, just don't pay attention to zoning, regulations. I get the emails, sometimes I read them, sometimes I don't. And because I feel with the zoning rules, it's complex. And also, there's only so much bandwidth in a brain. And so I'm glad that we have a redevelopment board that is comprised of experts and members of the planning department, and also I think Arlington resident. Well, actually, one of the members is an Arlington resident, and they know this stuff. Also, given that a lot of the people who are speaking against it aren't saying that we don't want to vote for it, they more so want more time to consider it. So I think they are going to suggest that the ARB bring it back in a year.
ARB Chair Andrew Bunnell says he encourages Arlington residents to get involved in the process in the coming year and looks forward to hearing more ideas and a broader discussion in the months ahead.
Meantime, the Select Board took action on other major issues that town meeting members will soon consider. The board last week unanimously voted to place the town's override and debt exclusion questions on the June 11th ballot. The override has been set at $5.5 million to support the town operations. Building the new high school is expected to cost roughly $291 million. That figure includes the state school building authority grant of more than $83 million. A spokesperson for the Build Arlington's Future, a group that's supporting these measures, commended the board and the town for carefully planning the costs and maintaining transparency in the process.
We wanted to make sure that you saw that we appreciate and support these questions. About the high school, I don't think there's a lot that needs to be said, except that we really, really need it, and it's time. And this building is going to do the job that we need it to do, and the planning has been excellent. About the override, I also think the planning has been excellent, and it makes sense to do this before we start losing services again and backs are against the wall.
Town Manager Adam Chapdelaine said you can find the numbers from the Budget and Revenue Task Force, which convened just before Select Board meeting, on the town website, arlingtonma.gov.
Well, get ready to tip a few cold ones, as the hot summer days, they will be approaching. The Select Board this week unanimously approved another Summer Garden Party Saturdays at Whittemore Park from June 1st through September. And Aeronaut Brewery of Somerville will once again have the beer flowing, while several bands provide the perfect summertime musical background. Last year's Summer Fun attracted nearly 9,000 people and took place from July through September. Many retailers say they benefited greatly from last summer's events. Aeronaut says it learned many things and is making some changes to make this summer even better. Select Board members said they were pleased to see Aeronaut return.
We would be thrilled to do it again. I think the town really enjoyed it. I think we got a lot of really positive feedback. And we did some survey. I think we submitted a sort of end of season report, or we worked on some survey results on that throughout the season. And we thought it was, generally a really positive experience for everyone, so we'd be happy to do it again.
It's a testament that we have you back here again and willing to do it again, despite the sometimes Herculean effort, taking out the weather factor of it. And I'm really excited to see how you grow it again this year. But I just wanted to let people know it was an open process, and thankfully you decided to come back, and we definitely appreciate it.
Friedlander says he has already heard from vendors wishing to take part in this summer's beer garden events as well.
After 11 days on the picket lines, Stop and Shop workers have reached a tentative agreement with management and went back to work early this week, including workers from Arlington's store on Mass Ave. Terms of the deal have yet to be disclosed, and there's no word when a ratification vote will be taken. But the tentative agreement was reached on Easter Sunday. In a joint statement, the unions representing 31,000 workers in Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts said, "We are incredibly grateful to our customers and everyone who proudly stood together with us every day for a contract that invests in the communities we serve and makes Stop and Shop a better place to work and a better place to shop." Union members on the picket line say the new pact preserves health care, retirement benefits, and wage increases for the current union members. A company spokesman said Stop and Shop appreciates the patience of its customers during this time. Workers told ACMi it may take more than 1 week to completely restock the shelves.
When you're done raking leaves and grass clippings or tossing away kitchen waste, you're tossing away a lot of organic material that's rich in nutrients. That's what Compost Day was all about in Arlington this week, part of the Eco Week 2019 celebration. And as ACMi's Moses Small tells us, when you know what to do with the discarded material, it's a win-win for everyone.
If you want to find a hidden gem in your home, it could be in the trash can. The Arlington Public Works Department is holding its first ever Compost Day. Residents are getting their hands dirty to use their food scraps for good.
That what we waste or what we don't use, if it has a higher purpose and we consume it again, that's really a very healthy environmental way to live our lives.
That's Town Recycling Coordinator Charlotte Milan. She started this event to raise awareness about composting and food waste. Milan wants residents to know the best ways to compost at home.
One of the key errors that people make is to think that just putting food scraps in their backyard is composting. When we put food scraps in our backyards, we don't have any control over what animals go back there and eat it. So having a controlled environment like a compost bin, something that's really rodent resistant, is a best practice.
The Public Works Department sold composting bins and gave away free samples. That's all thanks to food waste from local schools. Compost Day is part of a larger initiative called Eco Week, which highlights the ways Arlington can be kinder to the earth. Arlington School Sustainability Coordinator Rachel Oliveri says she's excited to see the town move toward the compost bin.
After this event today, well, it's wonderful to see the residents that have come out that are interested in learning about composting, and the students are well aware of this. They do this every day in their lunchrooms, which is really exciting, so they bring that learning home to their families. So this is all connected, and we're glad that the community is learning more about this today.
Composting Day is one of over 30 events that the town is holding this week to keep residents involved with the environment. The Eco Week runs until Sunday. For ACMi News in Arlington, I'm Moses Small.
According to the Centers for Disease Control, 7 out of 10 smokers want to quit the cigarette habit for good. You could be tempted to turn to electronic cigarettes or vaping as a way of to wean you off tobacco products, but is it really a sound alternative? E-cigarettes create a water vapor that you can inhale, but doctors say the device you use to vape actually heats nicotine extracted from tobacco. Nicotine, of course, is the highly addictive agent in cigarettes and e-cigarettes. One doctor ACMi talked to says these vaping flavors range from popcorn to creme brulee to unicorn breath. Flavors that are clearly aimed at children.
They have every flavor you can imagine, the 64 crayon collection of flavors. And currently all of their flavors have nicotine, 3% or 5%, depending on which flavor. And essentially, this is from the premise of we're using this to try to help people quit smoking. Well, that's nice, but it's not really what's happening. All of the little juices have these doses of nicotine in them, and they're carefully calibrated. Essentially, one pod is one pack of cigarettes. There are about 200 hits in each of these little pods. 20 hits, or about 10 hits is one cigarette. 20 of those makes up a pack of cigarettes. So they're calibrated. I'm not sure it's coincidental, of course. But the basic deal is that you can sort of smoke this discreetly in school or anywhere you want. And, that's what kids are doing now.
Dr. Egan says in Arlington, tobacconists can sell only the e-cigarette devices, but not the flavored juices. But the juices or pods are very easy to obtain online. To see more of this interview, just watch Talk of the Town. All you have to do is click on ACMi TV.
We know students are learning more than just the 3 R's these days, reading, writing, and arithmetic. But some are going beyond subject-based material altogether. The newly formed Gibbs 6th grade school is trying out project-based learning. Here's a look at how this approach is focused less on what children learn and more on how they learn. These 6th graders have a new appreciation for 80s era hard rock.
We were studying rock songs that overcame adversity.
Showing education visitors to their display booth at Gibbs 6th grade school that there is greater meaning surrounding the song.
Like, we talked about how the song made you feel, about genre and how it was looked at when it first came out.
All students at the 6th grade Gibbs school traveled a highway of sorts to project-based learning, a journey literally built into the school, renovated from its various rented-out uses after serving as a junior high school to serving now the town's 6th graders as they transition to secondary education.
We not only have the responsibility to give them the opportunity, but also teach them the skills that they're going to need in order to succeed in that environment. There's lots of cooperation. There's lots of planning. There's lots of growth mindset that's needed. There's lots of presentation skills, research skills, note-taking skills.
Classrooms and breakout areas that help serve this learning environment recently on display to educators with Maple, a personalized learning group that partners with the state's Department of Education.
And right now we're sitting in a space that's totally different than being in a classroom. And in a way, it sort of sparks more creativity than when you're in a traditional classroom.
These students in the Media Center are here learning math. Part of the project-based learning means getting together twice a week outside of the classroom and learning something. This time, data visualization.
So this is our first try with the data visualization. So if it's not perfect this time, right, remember from the video, they said they tried it over and over and over again.
Clusters of students led by a subject-based teacher were given a choice of assignments.
I thought after this, they would have this.
I know, right? Yeah. The ultimate decisions on how to go about discovering and representing a subject related to, say, music, world languages, or science left to the students themselves, providing them ownership and greater engagement.
Instead of actually learning about, languages and learning different languages, we made a play.
We all immigrated from different places.
Yeah.
So I immigrated from Portugal.
My parents immigrated from China.
I immigrated from Italy.
And my great-grandmother was Jane Moore, who was the first immigrant from Ireland to go through Ellis Island.
The idea of project-based learning, or PBL, is gaining steam nationwide. This first test locally at the Gibbs School seen as a way to bring necessary real-life soft skills into the everyday classroom.
The dots, this equals minimum, this equals maximum, right? Yeah. And then
how do you talk respectfully? How do you listen to other points of view? Working in teams is certainly one of the important skills that I know that is going to be important to be successful in almost any career that you choose. And doing that explicit instruction, we think is important, and we found that to be true.
And wiggle the finger number. So say it with me. 1.
Learning new skills while exploring standard subjects in new ways. The outcome, literal music to educators' ears.
Nice.
Brenda Mahoney, ACMi News. The Arlington School District hopes to spread project-based learning to other grades in the future.
Coming up on the other side of the break, Cable Satellite Public Affairs Network, or C-SPAN, is looking for a few good young filmmakers.
C-SPAN has awarded 3 filmmakers from Massachusetts, and 2 are right here from Arlington High School.
Tonight, in part 2 of our ongoing series, we'll show you the talented students who garnered honorable mention. We think you'll find these students outstanding. That and more when we come back.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
Last week, we showed you a documentary by Serena Bernstein and Mia Umali, which won honorable mention for their short documentary in the C-SPAN Student Cam contest. Tonight, the other winner in that same competition.
A documentary by Michael Graham Greene, Hikaru Koga, and Samuel Monks called Locally Sourced Government. I think you'll agree these students are creative and timely.
The 10th Amendment of the Constitution reads, "The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people."
This amendment is a significant piece of one of the most influential parts of the U.S. government system, the federalist system and federalism. The federal system that the U.S. government works under gives the federal government supreme authority over some topics like national defense or international commerce, and it gives the states supreme authority over other topics like redistricting the U.S. House of Representatives or conducting elections. Now, we all know about the president and members of Congress in Washington, D.C., and most of us know who our governor is and where our state capitol is and what our state capitol building looks like. But what about our local government? There are roughly 89,000 local government bodies in the U.S., and we, the citizens of the United States, vote in local officials every year. But asking around, I couldn't find anyone who could tell me the names of my town selectmen. I've never seen television ads for members of my town school committee, and I've never seen any of the members of my town meetings speak at any national party conventions. So how are these governments made up of our next door neighbors fitting into the federalist system of the United States? What do? And why should we care? I did some research and I asked around to get some answers.
At the local government level, even if you're setting policy, even if you're setting budgets, everything you do has an immediate impact on the residents in your community. The best part about local government is that you take actions and you can immediately see the impact of those actions. So many of the services that hopefully we take for granted, because if they're being done well, we take them for granted, are performed by local government. Your trash being picked up, your roads, your sidewalks, your schools, your police department, your fire department, and well beyond that are all provided by local government. And again, if those things are all operating fine, you probably don't think about them very much, but they are actually very complex and difficult to run. And it's local government managers and local government elected officials that help make those run appropriately and create a community and a place where people can feel safe and have a good quality of life.
We deliver services on behalf of state government with the local representatives that actually talk to people, that provide the social services, that operate the jail, that run the county roads.
Frankly, if you're a mayor, nobody cares what your party is. They care what you're getting done. You don't have time for a lot of bluster and baloney. Your constituents expect results.
Now we have a grasp on the authority and duties of local government, but how do local governments interact with higher levels of government in the federalist system?
So we regularly talk to state government, both the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the legislature about both general government aid and school funding that comes from the state to help cities and towns. So that's probably my biggest interaction with state government in general. More specifically with our local legislative delegation, annually during the budget process, we'll talk to them about some local priorities that they might be able to have funded in the state budget. And then if there's any legislative priorities that we'd like to see passed, if there's laws that we're interested in that are being considered, we'll interface with our state senator and our 2 state reps. But again, generally, it's mostly about finances and what we can convince state government to do to help out local government.
Although local government's interaction with state bureaucracy is interesting, as a public school student, I am also curious to learn about local government's role in providing a quality education for me and my classmates. To get some answers, I talked to a member of the school committee.
The school committee is like the board, so similar to a board of directors. So we are responsible for financial oversight over the school budget. We're responsible for policies, and we evaluate, hire, and fire the superintendent. We have oversight. We make sure that that money is spent correctly. We make sure that the budget items are right, that they're not wildly out of bounds. And we have oversight over policy, and it's very similar. We can initiate things, but we also look to the superintendent and her team as well. So why should people care? Well, actually, people care passionately about this, despite the fact that very few people vote, because it's their children. And so one of the things I actually like doing is talking to parents who are very upset. I mean, I don't like that they're upset. I'm happy for that they're upset, that something's not working for them or that for their child. But I like hearing that, and I like helping when I can, because there's nothing more important to people than their children, as I'm sure you can imagine. I think there's a lot more interest in local government because, in truth, we can't actually affect very much of what goes on the national level, right? I mean, but we can potentially affect what goes on the state level. Each state representative represents 40,000 people. That person lives in your town, lives near you. School committee members, right? We're at large people, we're representing 40,000 people. Town meeting members represent 2,000 people. And so you can actually, walk up to the person's house and talk to them. So we've seen a lot more interest.
People don't realize just how much of an impact the federal system's levels of government have on them. People ignore their municipal government because it's not noticeable, but it's not supposed to be. But if it didn't exist, major aspects of Americans' everyday lives, the basic services we all count on, would be left unattended. The grand rotundas of the State House and the Capitol building are not the greatest symbols of American republicanism. The spirit of our self-government lies rather atop the worn steps of Town Hall.
Michael, Hikaru, and Samuel won $250 for that film. There was a ceremony at Arlington High School's Media Center to honor their work on Thursday, April 25th.
And they shot and edited these excellent films with ACMi's equipment. That's something that all community members can do. And also next week, we'll have another story from Moses Small on the other videos that also won.
Wonderful. There are a lot of events taking place at Arlington High School this week as spring kicks into full gear.
Here's Claire Kitzmiller with this week's Ponderscope from Studio B.
Welcome to the Ponderscope, your Arlington High School news, updates, and more. On Monday, April 29th from 8 to 9:30, there will be a presentation to the town representatives on the new building proposal in Town Hall. This is the result of several years of work from the staff, students, and community members. Students will be offered 2 hours of community service for attending. You will be able to see our town government in action, as well as where we stand in the building process. On Wednesday, May 1st, from 2:30 to 4 on the AHS front lawn, AHS will be hosting the Earth Day Fair. There will be musical entertainment provided by 3-time Battle of the Bands winner Error 404, refreshments provided by FoodLink, and lawn games. All 3 student environmental clubs will have informational booths set up. If you have any other questions, feel free to email mcello2021@spyponders.com or rolivieri@arlington.k12.ma.us. All are welcome. FoodLink is very excited about Arlington Public Schools partnering with them in support of the entire Arlington community. This new opportunity to raise extra funds for FoodLink from Project Bread's 51st Walk for Hunger is a fabulous way to involve students and their families. Students can sign up now on Give Back Time, but they must also register with Project Bread to be on Team FoodLink. Filling in for Claire Kitzmiller, I'm Chandler Betts, and this has been the Ponderscope.
Lots of springtime Spy Ponder sports action to tell you about.
So, without further ado, here's your sports update from Studio B.
Hello, Arlington sports lovers, and welcome to your ACMi Sports Update. Upcoming freshmen, on Tuesday, April 30th at 6:30 p.m., come on down to the auditorium at Arlington High for an athletics information session. ACMi will be there as well. Come meet us and say hello if you'd like to learn more about sports production and more. Congratulations are in order for senior athlete Adam Bowler, who has been chosen for a National Football Foundation Scholar Athlete Award.
I would say something I've learned a lot is trust, and it's gained the second the season ends, whether it's with community service or whether it's with team lifts over the summer. Especially offense is a lot about trust.
Bowler has been recognized for his outstanding accomplishment in football, in the classroom, and in extracurricular activities. Boys lacrosse hosted Watertown earlier this week for an action-packed matchup. It was a rough first quarter, but your Spy Ponders came back in the second half to take the win.
Oh, here comes Brandon. He finds Capillion. He shoots. He scores! John Capillion from Brandon McKinney. And Arlington takes the lead from Capillion. It's Jonathan Capillion and friends.
Coming up next week for your home matchups. On Monday at 4 p.m., you can catch boys baseball and girls softball versus Lexington and girls tennis versus Winchester. On Tuesday, be sure to catch boys volleyball versus Newton South at 4 p.m. and girls lacrosse versus Woburn at 4:15. On Wednesday at 4 p.m., you can find girls tennis versus Belmont, boys volleyball versus Wayland, and girls softball versus Winchester. On Thursday, be sure to catch girls tennis versus Newton South. And on Friday, you can find girls tennis versus Wakefield at 4 p.m. and girls lacrosse versus Wakefield at 4:15 p.m. From ACMi Sports, I'm Alex Van Thong from Studio B. Back to you at Studio A.
And of course, stay with us for all your latest news and sports updates. That'll do it for us here in Studio A. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Carla Dorado.
And I'm Brenda Mahoney. See you next time.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or you wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by our Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.